Okay, we're going to just do a little topical stuff here. Talking today about ADHD. And it's overdiagnosis. Now, there are a lot of people who are against medications and that sort of thing. Yeah, and claim they're overprescribed and claim there's no such thing. I don't claim that at all. They are overprescribed. Medications are overprescribed, but there is a real ADHD. You hear people talk about, well, I've been a NASA astronaut for 40 years and I just discovered I had ADHD. That's improbable. If you really have ADHD, you know it, and it's severe. Way before that, I have ADHD, and I knew when I was 11 years old there was a real problem. And I remember one thing that was interesting that my dad told me later on is that how my second grade teacher had told him that I was the most active kid he'd ever seen. So there was, and I got kind of thrown out of everything, not because I was necessarily doing something bad, but because I couldn't sit still. And and more than just sit still, I had to get up. It was more than that. So that's, I plan to talk about this a little bit. I think there's a lot of problems, misconceptions, and the problem with overuse of the term and diagnosis is that the people who really have it, the acceptance gets diluted because just like me, a person who has it, I say, come on. Some of that's just, making people feel good. And that's a real thing. And again, there's all these people who speak out against medications. I'm not at all against medications. Again, I do think there is places where they're overprescribed. One of the things in my experience that I realized, I'm looking at myself here. I'm supposed to be looking at that camera, really. Is that the diagnosis of these conditions is very poor at best. And I think part of it is, there's this kind of thing about doctors and psychiatrists being people who don't actually need them. Now, I understand the idea that they may need to be more stable than the general public, but a lot of people in those fields don't understand at all. Don't even understand the behavioral issues that come with ADHD or any other type of neurological disorder or and so they're I think that's one reason why sometimes the medication prescription is a crutch, but there's lots of people that need medication. One thing I've kind of discovered, my hair's standing up suddenly, is that the public at large often inhibits people with these type of disorders, ADHD, whatever it may be. There's other disorders of a similar nature, from functioning at an optimal level, not because they can't, but because they expect them to function and do their functioning in the same manner and sort of order and sort of things that they do. When in reality, often people with ADHD and other different things can function as well as anybody else, but they people who encounter them try to put the square peg in the round hole, and it's always a problem. There's always that problem if you have ADHD or something else like that, where people just can't accept that you do things a little differently, or you have to work around it a little bit. So that's another issue that is prevalent. One thing I find disturbing is, there's this a good example is things on television is like this show where the doctor is autistic, but he functions at an incredible level as a doctor. Not to say that an autistic person can't. The problem is it sets the idea that if you are autistic, that this is the level you should be able to function at, and that's just not true for almost all people who are autistic. There's, they say high functioning autistic. Again, I question an autistic person functioning as a medical doctor, and they may be able to, with medications and trainings, but I think it'd be a very rare thing. I maybe not as a medical doctor, but maybe as like a surgeon. I just, it's very difficult, and I think what it does, some people think that it's giving them the idea that we don't hold it against you and you can do anything. But I then think for a lot of people who have something like autism, that's just not going to happen. They then get the same sort of feeling that anybody in the general public without such a malady gets when they don't achieve things that they are told that they can achieve, that they're a failure. So it kind of communicates to them that even though you have autism, you should be able to be a surgeon in a medical facility with, in the middle of a city of, the size of millions, So again, I'm not saying that that's not possible, but I'm saying it does actually set kind of a false standard that actually sets a lot of people up for the failure.